Are you kidding me? I can't believe it. Thank you. Oh my God, this is. Oh, thank you. I was just trying to set this up. I have to. Oh, this is Nigeria. Oh my God. Oh.
Take a picture for your
mommy. Thank you. Oh my goodness. Yep. Yeah. So what do I do now? I'll bring that down, and I will definitely open it. Jesus is Lord. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Oh my God. I'm trying to figure out my life right now. This is beautiful. Yes. Thank you, everyone. Oh my goodness. Let me put this. Last week we had something to calm this thing down. Can we get something to just... As long as it does not tip over. If it tips over...
I got an idea.
Okay.
Here.
Oh, that's it.
That's like a red.
Well, now something's got to hold this.
Yeah. So the problem now is that the case is all I'm saying.
You got to. I think it's facing that way.
Put this inside it.
So shouldn't it be backwards?
Like this? Like you mean like it should be?
No, because you're just shooting over there. You want this.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's so true.
There you are.
Yeah.
You shot the umbrella.
Where is the case? Yeah, the case works well now. Jesus is Lord.
She's eating your cake.
Who is doing that? Oh my God. Yeah, you can't drink it again. Sorry. You know what? You guys have to figure this
You guys
out.
are goofy. Put it in there.
Oh yeah, that's a little. Yeah, it goes this way, but this should be able to stand on its own. Yeah, that's okay. The other thing is like. Yeah.
Little tape never hurts. Here,
We're going to get you 2 Bibles.
Wait. I know. Hope Suzanne doesn't get mad at me.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah.
So that it doesn't cheat. That's so smart. That is so smart. I think we solved the problem. Suzanne just like killed the. She just did.
Yeah.
She just did. All right. Oh my goodness. So. Oh wow. So are we studying cake today or Bible? I think it's cake.
I think it's the sacrifice of heaven.
Please help me.
I know you.
The feeding of the multitudes.
You want to do it now?
When should we do it?
It's
do it after, or
Okay.
I can start cutting them and pass it out as we do it, but I don't want to be distracting and just...
Okay, why not let us do it? I would rush the Bible study so that... Well, I definitely have to open this, you know? Are you sending me back to Nigeria with this load?
So...
Jesus is Lord. The world needs more people who live a little better than they found them. Thank you.
You're not going anywhere, are you?
ready for the poll. There's a lot of handwritings here that I see very clearly.
It's from the choir.
Oh, thank you, choir. Oh, thank you. Is this a trumpet?
From the choir.
Oh, my. Can you?
Oh my God.
No kidding. I needed this. Oh my God. Oh no. Oh my. I have this chicken in the freezer for 2 weeks now because I don't have an air fryer now. Thank you. Oh my.
Air fryer.
Oh, okay.
That is so.
Oh, wow.
Oh my God. So.
Oh, now you have to do the tape.
Oh my goodness, I just need to have another job now. Well, thank you so much for the love. Thank you for everything. Thank you, the choir, and everyone, please. Thank you so much. Okay, so why don't let me rush the Bible study today so that... Oh, Cora, what did you do?
Yeah, you probably need to put that. Do you want to put it in the kitchen
So the text for today is what I just want to...
Yeah, take it in the kitchen and cut it and leave it, and folks could go get it. If we take just a little break halfway through. Yeah.
During our question and answer.
Yeah, we could.
Yeah, that's what we'll do.
Okay.
I think a lot of people have the opening prayer, right? But if you don't have the opening prayer, I'm just like...
I knew that.
Oh,
I never right. My phone.
Right. That's the first time more than enough. I just really wanted to listen and get caught up in writing.
Oh, really?
Run out and tell us and we'll get it on.
I would...
Share.
What about text?
Okay, yeah, let's attend.
Yeah. Mine's 3 weeks old.
Yeah.
First name is
We're 3.
Yes. I'm trying my
If we
best
need
not to
extras, here's the
be
four
organized.
extras.
Okay. This is, I believe, this is the one I am in shortage of today.
These are the questions.
Oh, the questions.
For the discussion, yeah.
Okay. So you can
You
take out
don't have that at all.
Yeah, we'll share things.
These are the basic lessons. Do you have a basic lesson?
Yes, we all do.
Okay.
Wait for yourself. Oh, yeah, I think I do.
But she doesn't, you don't have it.
So,
Yeah.
is anyone who wasn't here last week who do not have a copy of what we had last week, Elijah? Okay, if you need anyone, I still have more copies, so I'll sort that out later on basic lessons. Any more person with a need for basic lessons? I don't have any.
She doesn't hear well.
You don't have?
You have extra.
There's one there.
There it is.
I am so organized.
Yeah, we're gonna help with that.
I'm the most organized non-human being here. Is it the same one or different one?
Starts with God's silence.
Yesterday.
God's silence.
Yes.
Yeah, earlier, Syro.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep, we're good.
Shall we start a prayer?
Yeah.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. My Lord God, I have no idea where I am going.
I do not see the road ahead of me. I cannot know for certain where it will end. nor do I really know myself. And the fact that I think I am following your will does not mean that I am actually doing so. But I believe that the desire to please you does in fact please you. And I hope I have that desire in all that I am doing. I hope that I will never do anything apart from that desire to please you. And I know that if I do this, you will lead me by the right road, though I know nothing about it.
Therefore I will trust you always,
Though I may seem to be lost in the shadow of death,
I will not fear,
for you are ever with me,
and you will never leave me to face my perils alone.
hear my prayers through Christ our Lord. Amen.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. One more material that I am passing out. It's from St. Augustine's Confessions. If we, I'll get there. So one of the things that
You got this.
Wait,
Here's some more.
there's one here. There you go.
Do you need one?
Okay.
we only have, after this, we have only one more class. And what I'm going to say is we start our class and I think we should end it that way. We'll go out there and bond, pray over our intentions and bond them together with prayers. I hope to be able to talk less on next week so that we have more time for the prayer aspect. But one or two things that I want to begin with today, it's almost like a background. Now, these two towns called Tyre and Sidon remain in the ancient world one of the most wealthy, one of the wealthiest towns or cities of the ancient world. A personality that we do know is from Sidon is the woman whom we encountered last week, Jezebel. She was a Sidonian princess. But one thing very, very that these two cities are well known for is that just as the American dollar is a major determinant of value of exchange in the world presently, their coins in the ancient world were the best. They had the greatest value in the ancient world. And actually, if you remember about a week ago or so, when Jesus came into the temple and threw away all those coins and things like that, what would happen is this. The coins in the ancient world have an inscription. They always have, usually the one of Rome is just paradigmatic. They have the image of the emperor on one side and an inscription of the value at the other side. Remember when a coin was brought to Jesus in the temple area, the question he asked is, whose image is this? Whose inscription is it? Now, among the Jews, they would never allow anything that has an image to get into the temple area. Because following the first commandment, that you shall not make any graven image. So what people do, because the coins that people respect those coins more than anything. So you are coming from anywhere over the whole land, over the whole ancient world. You are carrying around with you this the Tyrian coin or the Sidonian coin. So when you get to the temple area, you cannot get into the temple area with those coins. What they do is that there is an exchange rate in the temple area. You give them the coin that has an image, then you get back the shekel that has no image, or the denarius that has no image at all. And with that, you are able to make your purchases and things, which eventually they turn into something else. Now, the other thing, like, note this, as I say this, as we note this, the other thing is this. Until 1947 or 1967, late 60s, Israel was never a world power. Forget about most of the things we read in the Bible sometimes, that they did this, they conquered this, they conquered that. They were never a world power. You know, the more powerful empires in the ancient world are the Egyptians, the Assyrians, the Persians at the stage, then the Babylonians. They were always everywhere. Then later on, at the turn of the century, the Romans. Okay? Now, they were always hemming the Israelites in. Before the Israelites got to the promised land, the Canaanites were in charge. They didn't even have a land of their own. So over and over again, and this is still surprising, this is what makes it all the more surprising, that this very tiny piece of land acquire so much resilience over time. In fact, we know that there are 12 tribes in Israel. In 722, 10 of these tribes were totally exterminated. So what will happen in the ancient world is this. Especially the Babylonians changed it. But before then, what will happen is once a country comes in, an empire comes in, to ransack a land, they deport the elite, the kings, the princes, the chiefs. For the most time, they leave what the Greeks would call the hoi polloi, the common people. They leave them in the land. And most of the time, the hoi polloi people are always even seen as unclean, almost in every culture, just like we do today. It's so funny that today we see those who are like deported as poor people, or they are poor, but in the ancient world, no. Give this instance in this morning that the last king of Israel, before he was deported, all his children were killed before him, and they plucked out his eyes before they led him into Babylon. And the reason why they deport all the, this can be very strange to the American mind, but as long as there is still a heir to the British throne in the UK, there is always a possibility that if Britain is invaded by a foreign power, the people can rally around that heir and lead a rebellion. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So like if there is a living heir, this is very, very common in me. It's very common in my culture. As long as, even if it is the smallest child, it becomes a rallying point for rebellion. So the first thing they do is to exterminate all the elite so that there is no ground for rebellion again. Now, why am I saying this? In 722, when the Assyrians eliminated the 12 tribes, so all the tribes, the Israel that we hear today, the Israel that we hear in the New Testament, are the 2 tribes of Judah in the south. One other thing that is also very important, okay, before I get there, let me say this. Don't forget Tyre and Sidon and their wealth. So when they deported them they brought in other peoples to settle in the land. And a major part of the land where they settled in, remarried with the hoi polloi, is that space we today call Galilee. Okay? It's called the Galilee of the nations. Not because they produce a lot of cake that has the Nigerian flag on it, but because it is made of people of different parts of the ancient world. It is no longer purely Jewish nation. It has become like a mismatch of several nations all together. So even though we still have a portion of the Jews living there, okay, and those from Judah in the south never trusted those from Galilee. Again, never in history did they trust the Galileans. Okay? The Galileans remained some of the poorest in the ancient world, even though they were highly agricultural. They had farms. Now, one other little detail that it is very important to know. Jesus has 12 disciples. 11 of them were from Galilee. Only one is not from Galilee. And his name is
Judas.
It is believed that he never trusted the Galileans. Part of what led to his betrayal of Jesus. Ish in Hebrew means man. Kariot is a little village besides Jerusalem. That was where he was from. Judas, the man from Kariot. If you notice, we'll read it again in and they can know whether you are from Galilee immediately. Once you open your mouth. You remember the story of this young girl who caught Peter by the fire? No, one of the things he told Peter is that your accent is giving you out. Okay? So, now, have that in mind as we go through this passage together and know what is happening. Or maybe one final detail or two. They call Israel the land of milk and honey. Why? Why would this almost insignificant place be called the land of milk and honey? This is the reason. This is Egypt in the ancient world. This is almost the rest of the world. Egypt was the food basket of the ancient world because of the river Nile and its Niger and its the Nile Delta, which was very fertile. Okay? Now, every part of the ancient world, once they achieve a sort of prominence, where do they look for? They look to get to Egypt to get the food. Antony, Cleopatra, Alexander the Great even has a town named after him in Alexandria. Why? Now, we all know the reason why they look for food. Okay? The only way they can get to Egypt is the tiny piece of land where Israel occupies today. To control Egypt, you have to control this axis. So literally, when they say Israel is the land of milk and honey, it's literally saying that is the land that leads to milk and honey. You have to control this piece of land to be able to know that you can feed your people. Okay? Now, one other thing about Galilee that is also I already said that Galilee is very agricultural, that they have a lot of. Now, the north of Galilee is Tyre and Sidon. And over again, when people farm in Tyre and Sidon, in Galilee, and we still have a lot of the farmlands in the United States are what feed the cities. The cities don't have farm. They feed the cities. Now, imagine a world, and it's not just in the United States, how many food produce do United States get from Mexico? A lot. Avocado and things like that. But the question you will ask, for instance, is, do the people in Mexico have the same quality avocado that we eat here? And if they do, how many of them do? Okay. One of the things among the Galileans is that though they produce the food, many of them don't have access to the food. Because people from Tyre and Sidon, with the money that they have, with their currency, buy out a lot of the produce. They take it down there, they buy at cheaper prices here. Does that sound familiar? And then they take it up here, sell it at higher prices. And the worst part of it, they sell it back to these people also at higher prices. Nigeria, my country, is a good example of that stupidity. Crude oil. But you know what happens is that we don't have refineries. We have 4 ones that are moribund. You know what we do? We take our crude, as smart and stupid as we are, we sell our crude to US, to France, they refine, and we buy it back from them. Like, let that make sense to me. Okay, now.
It's left over from the colonial powers.
Oh yeah.
You don't have the refineries because they won't let you have the refineries.
That is part of the plan.
Yes.
So think about that when you are thinking it. Now, if I am Jesus, I'm from Galilee, I live in Galilee, and I see an American ask me for gas. Bless you. I would not be pressed to tell any American who wants to buy gas from me, like, the children have to eat the gas first before the dogs take the gas. I'm not calling Americans dogs, but let's go to what the reading says. Very clear, you know. So have that in mind when you read this. This woman, where is this woman from? Where is Jesus from? The political background there is so important to know what is going on in this story. Where are we? Matthew 15, right?
Wait,
Okay.
Matthew
15,
Verses
chapter 15, verses 21 to 28. Matthew 15. Matthew. Oh, yes, I changed it because I have the power to change it. I am so sorry. It is the same thing, but in a more dramatic one.
I know.
It's a dramatic version of whatever you read. Okay?
So what is it? So
Please
it's
repeat, then it's Matthew.
Matthew 15, 21 to 28.
Thank you.
Oh, Matthew, what was it again?
Matthew 15, 21 to 28.
15, 21 to 28.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay? Don't worry about what you read. It's the same text, but with a different slant. So you will find out that it's the same thing. Jesus left that place and went to the district of Tyre and Sidon. Are we following? Mm-hmm. So he left, when he left the Judah part, and he's entering a Gentile territory, a more wealthy territory. Just then, a Canaanite woman from that region came out and started shouting. She's called a Canaanite in this passage. What do we know about the Canaanites in the Old Testament? They were the arch enemies of Israel.
In what? I couldn't.
They were the arch enemies. Arch, is it arch or arch? Arch. Yeah, they were the arch enemies of the people of Israel. They were kicked out of according to some passages according to some passages, I think it's in the book of Judges, in the book of Joshua, they eliminated them completely. In the book of Judges, there was still this little rivalry because they were not able to completely exterminate them. But see what this writer is doing. He's going back to the Old Testament and reminding you that this woman who is about to make this question, this woman who is about to make this request is from one of the most hated tribes.
UHF is connected.
Thank you. Okay. I think you can hear me better now. Yes. So, she's literally, the writer, the narrator of this story is trying to tell us, wait, something is about to happen here. What is going to happen between Jesus and this woman? This is not even a Jewish woman. This is the only Gentile woman that Jesus did anything for in the New Testament. She's the only one. No one again. Now, they are setting us up for something. So this woman comes out. She came out of that region and started shouting. She's not even saying, hi, hello, can you help me? No. It's screaming, shouting, have mercy on me, Lord, Son of David. The next thing we realize there is the title she calls Jesus, the Son of David. That means even though by tribe he's a Canaanite, By religion, his theology aligns with that of Israel. He acknowledges Jesus not just to be the Messiah, but to be the son of David, which means Jesus has a right to the Davidic throne. That is so, she's saying, you people have a greater right to this land than my own people. Because you are the son of David. Have mercy on me. Now, why is she asking for mercy? Lord, my daughter is tormented by a demon. And I try to give this example nowadays, especially in our contemporary life. We see people struggle with mental illness sometimes that can be likened almost to a demon taking possession of someone. It is more common than we would like to acknowledge. The people, I don't know, I'm reading a novel now, not a novel, The Best Minds. It's a book about, written by Jonathan Rosen, about his very good friend, Michael Lauder, who got diagnosed with schizophrenia, but went ahead, even with that diagnosis, to Yale. And this was all happening at the background of the 60s and 70s and 80s, when the United States does not know anything to do with mental health. A lot of people who were truly struggling were released onto the streets. People have to choose between their legal position and mental health. But not just schizophrenia, something as terrible as bipolar. The individual starts to speak. You can't hear their voice. It's as if somebody else is speaking through them. I have seen this. The challenge in my culture as a Nigerian, we overemphasize the devil. Like the devil is behind everything. Even the devil is behind my glasses. The fact I'm losing glasses, the devil is behind it. But the challenge here in the West is that he's not even recognized at all. We can explain a lot of things. But whatever is happening to anyone, we can see this woman just walking straight and say, this is what my daughter is going through. This is what is going on in my family. There was a need that drove her to Jesus. And as we would know, she's never going to take no for an answer. Okay? Now, here she continues, but Jesus did not answer her at all. Oh my God. He's not even, she's not even acknowledging the presence of that woman. And this is just the beginning of the trouble. Jesus has not got into the more, I won't say the nasty part, but it's not even answering. There's something very terrible in not being acknowledged at all. If somebody even hates you, you know where they are standing. But if that person does not acknowledge you at all, it's almost as if your existence is being erased. And this is what this woman, on top of the fact that her daughter, maybe she could not even bring the daughter because bringing her out will cause a commotion. But on top of that, she's met with this stark silence. And it can be very interesting sometimes, especially in our relationship with God. What we meet sometimes, if we want to be sincere, is also silence, this divine silence. It's completely silent. And here we are, knocking the door, storming everything, screaming like this woman. She said nothing. And his disciples came and urged him, saying, send her away, for she keeps shouting after us. Wow. That's the suggestion of the disciples. How caring can they be? They are some of the most caring individuals in the world. Peter, James, and John that we follow. And the embarrassment can be so horrible if anybody is shouting around you when you are walking down the streets. I don't know if any of you have seen the NCA children screaming at me down the streets. I have no option but to stop and acknowledge them. Even there was a day, like once I have the morning session here and they are answering the questions, I go around there, they are always going to the tech class every Wednesday morning. And there was a day they saw me, I opened the window and they started screaming, Father Paul, la 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 la. Then there was this post woman that was delivering posts. She had to stop and wave like them and say, hi, Father Paul. Because she can't pass. They blocked everywhere. The teacher could not control them again. But this is it. This is with Jesus saying, like, everybody knows. In the Gospel of Mark, it says Jesus was just sneaking into the place. He doesn't want anybody to know that he's even around. But this is this woman announcing, going on ABC 7. I really need help. Okay? Now, but he never answered. The best way to get somebody away, especially a woman who needs, a mother who needs healing or anything, is not to ignore them. Because they are never going to give up. Your silence means they should shout more. Okay? So now, the disciples said, send her away. He answered, I was only sent to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Now he answered, who is Jesus answering? Who did he give an answer to? The woman or his disciples? The disciples, yeah. At this stage, he's not even answering the woman. Okay? Now, then what happened? What did the woman do? But she came and knelt before him, saying, Lord, help me. She changed her position. She was at the back. Like, the best thing is for this man to see me face to face. If he sees me, he can say no. You know, sometimes we continue to push our case believing that if somebody sees our pain and our agony, they are able to really do something about it. It was in the year 2000. I was already in college then. I went for, it was really, my family was struggling financially and I needed like a scholarship to just like my first year. I started having tutorials like teaching some of the professors' kids, but I needed something more. So there was this scholarship thing in Lagos. It was by one very popular Nigerian lawyer then, Ganifawemi. So he gathered about 25 students from the whole country and just gave all these interviews to select only one person who will win the scholarship. It was a heavy money to train them through the whole thing. And by God's grace, I failed completely. Now, what happened after, why I knew how I failed, was they now showed us the video of each of the interview with every one of us. So the lady that won the scholarship, even if the scholarship had been given to me, I would give it to her. The way she made her case, the way she broke down, it wasn't just like she wasn't reading from somewhere. You could see the passion, the need, and they could see it in her eyes. And when they asked me, if this scholarship does not happen to you, what are you going to do? I said, I trust God. Oh, that lady, since I could trust God, God will take care of me. But for that lady, it's like, if you don't keep me down, my family history is erased. She got it. So see the change of position for this woman, from the back to the front. Says, maybe Jesus is going to hear me. And this is where Jesus says, he answered. And this is a struggle for me. And I don't think I can fully understand what was going on here. It is not fair to take the children's food and throw it to the dogs. Wow.
Oh my God, oh my God.
Is something burning? What's that? Oh, okay. I have seen it, don't worry.
What is it?
So, sit down, you're fine. I've taken care of your problem. I thought she was really surprised at what Jesus said. I didn't know. I never knew that it was a fly. Now she's steaming this one.
That was a roach.
Is it a roach?
No,
Whatever you...
Don't say what is happening. Just face Jesus, Catherine. Please. Now, huh?
Low battery.
No, I'm not going to allow you to get it. Jesus has given me power over every force. So Jesus says, it is not fair to take the children's food and throw it to the dogs. So many people have tried to explain this passage. Some even say that the dogs Jesus was referring to were house dogs. That's just ridiculous. Because whether house dog, whether wild dog, a dog is a dog. I am one of those who believe that I do not need to save Jesus from a text like this. Jesus is bold enough to save himself. But this is a passage, I prefer to just approach some passages with fear and trepidation, with humility, and knowing that I cannot fully understand what is going on here. Because this is a passage, I think what this passage tells us more that one day when we get to heaven, Jesus has some explanation to do. This is one of those passages. You know, there have been instances, like it was true that in the ancient world, those from Tyre and Sidon were referred to as dogs. There's a huge evidence in that. But even then, there are so many traditions and customs that Jesus overturned that we know he did. But to repeat a common trope, and we know how powerful words can be. We're having a conversation after the session this morning, and people said something about the genocide in Rwanda in 1994. One of the things, the way that genocide went on with over 1 million people, like slashed to death, was they began by calling each other cockroaches. And the best way to eliminate anyone is to dehumanize them. You know, because once they are dehumanized, our brain cannot stand us eliminating someone who is our equal. We have to dehumanize them. Then our conscience is calm. The only way a lot of the blacks were treated as slaves in the ancient world was to justify that they are not human beings as qualified as the other color. So, dehumanization is just one step, is the last step towards elimination. And this is what makes a passage like this very terrifying. But one thing that is still is that, for me, we are not learning much from Jesus in this passage. Like I said, Jesus will do some explanation. I am sure he will do that. The first time we get to heaven, there's going to be a Bible study.
I think he means it.
Yeah. So, now, see the woman's reply. Yes, Lord. Yet even dogs eat crumbs that fall from their master's table. Wow. This is this woman telling Jesus, yeah, I get what you're trying to say. But you know what? You can call me dog. You can call me anything. But you don't even starve your dogs to death. They have a right to eat something. My child has a right to be healed. She's not bothered about, like, maybe at the end of the day, she got what she wanted. That is one single thing on her mind. Like, healing for my daughter. Healing for my daughter. She's not trying to heal a dog. She's trying to heal a daughter. She knows that. And nobody's going to change that. But what Jesus has said, the analogy that Jesus has said, needs to be turned upside down. And she did it. Powerfully. That Jesus had to say even after, woman, great is your faith. Let it be done for you as you wish. And her daughter was healed from that very moment. And there is in the geography of the Gospel of Matthew, after this passage, the only other time that Jesus went back to Judah, before this passage, he was only limited to the land of Israel. After this passage, he moved out into the Gentile region. So there's the argument that this woman changed the mind of Jesus to move away from the Gentile area, from the Jewish area to the Gentile area.
Low battery, please charge.
All right, that is a very good way to lead into some of the things that I have written here that I just want us to, I want to go through, not the basic lessons. Wait, the basic lessons are going to come. Like I said, this is the only example in the gospel of Jesus ministering to a woman who is a Gentile. The only one. Luke omitted this story probably because he found it too offensive to his Gentile audience. No, this is Catherine. Do you have a copy? Please, can you share?
Lessons?
Yes, basic lessons. We are not at basic lessons right now. We'll get to basic lessons very soon. Luke omitted this story because perhaps he found it too offensive to his Gentile audience. How would you tell this story to Gentiles, like who are already tagged as dogs in this? So what Luke did is completely he omitted the story from his gospel. We only have it in Matthew and Mark. I've already described. Sometimes breaking barriers is one of the ways to hear the voice of God. She broke the cultural and gender barriers. That was what this woman exactly did. There was a place for Gentiles, not just now. That's the idea that Jesus was trying to tell this woman. But there are two women in the Gospels that Jesus told, this is not the time. And they both told him, no. This woman and Mary at the marriage of Cana in Galilee. He said, oh, woman, this is not my time. Mary just turned to the steward. Just listen to him. He's not going to do anything different. He dared not because he's going to meet me at home. Only two women that Jesus, their argument was so powerful that Jesus says, okay, I'm going to do what you want. There's no time barrier with God. Sometimes don't wait to ask God for something. Ask just now. Now, the other thing is like sometimes hearing God's voice often means that we are able to see the slightest hope and seize on it. This woman is not talking about human rights. There is a space for human rights. All she wanted is hope and healing for her daughter. Jesus can say anything he wants to say. Her own is get what she wants to get. Trust. She trusted. She left after she had had the final word. You know. In fact, we can even say that her theology at this stage, Jesus learned something from this woman. She was an unfortunate loser on 3 counts. She's a woman. She was a Greek, which means her national or ethnic status was wrong. And she's called Syrophoenician. A racial term, but having inevitable and unsavory connections with the religion of Tyre and Sidon since Jezebel's time. Okay? Now, if any other Jewish leader, teacher of the time had said such a thing that Jesus told this woman, Christians would never have forgiven Judaism for it. If any other person, imagine the Pope calling somebody dog from the altar in the Vatican. Even we are going to say, oh no, he screwed up. I mean, he messed that up. Sorry. I didn't know we're online. Yeah, we're online. Even we were going to say, not our Pope. They will carry like a Twitter hashtag, not our Pope. This is how, like, if you were to be termed God, if we didn't name Jesus, if you don't believe that Jesus is God, many Christians will believe that this is an error on his part. But for me, like I said, he's got some explanation to do, and he dare not do it to me in a dream. I won't accept it if it's in a dream. When I get to heaven, I ask him, sir, explain this passage. Now, the other thing that is very interesting is the woman. I wish she has a name. We don't know her name. If she's had a name, I probably would be bearing her name right now. But later on, I think 400 years later, there's a gospel called the Gospel of Pseudo-Clementines. She was named Justa. and her daughter name was Berenice. But that's later on. We don't know how true is that. Can I have a copy of the Yes. No. Let me start with Augustine first. See, let's start with Augustine before we go to that basis. Now, the one that so this is from Augustine's Confessions. Do you have a copy of the Confessions from Augustine?
Yeah.
This is it right here.
So if we remember, this is the reason why I brought this. This is the image of Augustine and his mother, Monica. I have it in my room. They were looking over, what's that sea? Ostia. This is the painting they have of them. So Augustine and Monica was the mother of Augustine. And he wanted Augustine to become a Christian for a long time. There's still another passage we're going to read next week. But she would always go to Rome, Milan. Ambrose was in Milan. Ambrose was the bishop of Milan. And begged Ambrose after every mass, please pray for my son. Pray for my son. Pray for my son. Years later, when Augustine became a Christian, and not just a Christian, but a bishop, this was what he wrote about his mother. Okay? I'll start from the one that you can read, you can follow with me. 21. One other answer I remember you gave her in that time. Many such things I pass over, because I'm hastening unto the matters which I more urgently press to confess to you, and many I have simply forgotten. He was addressing God. The focus of God in St. Augustine's, the focus of St. Augustine's confession is God. But you gave her another assurance by the mouth of your priest, a certain bishop, read up in the church and well grounded in your scriptures. My mother asked him, in his kindness, to have some discussion with me, to refute my errors, to unteach me what was evil, and teach me what was good. For he often did this when he found such people as it might profit. He refused rightly, as I have realized since. He told that I was not yet ripe for teaching, because I was all puffed up with the newness of my heresy, and had already upset a number of insufficiently skilled people with certain questions. The bishop does not want to be disgraced by Augustine. As she had, in fact, told him, but, said he, let him alone. Only pray to the Lord for him. He will himself discover by reading what his error is and how great is his impiety. The bishop went on to tell her that his mother has been seduced by the Manichees, so that a small child has been given over to them, and he had not only read practically all their books, but had also copied them out and found out for himself, with no need for anyone to argue or convince him, that he must leave the sect. And he had left it. When he had told her this, that is his mother, my mother would not be satisfied. That is Monica. That is a mother who never gives up. But urged him with repeated entreaties and floods of tears to see me and discuss with me. Then what happened next? Ambrose lost patience. It's like, this woman, you're not going to kill me. Go your way, as sure you live. It is impossible that the son of these tears should perish. In the conversations we had afterwards, my mother often said that she accepted this answer as if it had sounded from heaven. I had a woman in my former church, Peter Lambert. Before the pandemic, she came to me that I should pray that she passes an exam. It was a nursing exam. And I would pray every day. And guess what? She failed. So apart from the fact that I was ashamed, I started avoiding this woman. Because that means my prayer has not worked. Which is not one of, it's very many of my prayers did not work out. So after that, she came to me. She would look out for me every morning in the sacristy, telling me that she's going to take the exam again, that I should pray for her. I prayed again, asking God, I'm just doing what this woman asks. But she would always come after every single mass. Every morning mass. I don't think you know how much pressure that puts on me. So I'm done with the mass. I know she's going to show up. So you know what I did? I drove down to the shrine of Our Lady of Guadalupe. It's like 20 minutes drive on. And I knelt down before Mary and I said, this woman is going to kill me. Like, help me. She's going to kill me. And I mean it. She's going to kill me. She passed the next time. And this is me saying, I thank God that she passed because God answered the prayer. But the person this woman took to dinner was not God, it was me. See how priests enjoy. Now let's run through basic lessons. None of you have basic lessons here. Can I have your own? Sorry. Let me have your own. You're ready? Number one, I'm just going to run through these so that we go through it. God's silence does not mean that God does not have a plan. The fact that God is not answering now does not mean he doesn't have a plan. We are always more resilient, more than we ever can think. So it's a question of telling us, don't give up. Just like this woman. Sometimes we look at what we are doing and say, can I change what I'm doing? This woman was begging from the back. She moved to the front. Now, not to speak out is to lose out. My bishop will say this over and over again. My mom would never, and many of us are mothers here, many of us grew up with mothers who would never take no for an answer. And that's the way God has created women. Men will walk away once the thing is too hard. But women, they will sit down, start planning how to make dinner. Why their answers, they're waiting for the answers. And one thing is that they never fail to speak out. Then number 4, prayer is not always an interesting activity. Prayer is easy only for beginners and for those who are already saints. During the long years in between, it is difficult. Why? Because prayer has the same dynamics as love. And love is sweet only in its initial stage, when we fall in love, and again in its final mature state. In between, love is hard work, dogged fidelity, and needs willful commitment beyond what is normally provided by our emotions and our imaginations. Okay? You think your relationship with your spouse is difficult? Try your relationship with God. It's more like hard work into it. Number 5, our help can come from the strangest of places, just as needs know no discrimination. Help also does not know discrimination. I go to 7. Persistence and showing up does work, if not for God, definitely for us. Augustine has this saying. My spirituality is a lot of Augustine. Augustine, I believe, one of the reasons why I love Augustine is the way he paints the human nature as messy, but the grace of God can still shine through it. Aquinas is too organized for me. Very, very organized. My room looks like an Augustine's room. Organized chaos. That's what I call my room. Now, Augustine will say that when God does not answer our prayers immediately, he's trying to expand our heart for what he's about to give us. So if prayer does not work, if persistence does not even work on God, it works on us. Then number 8, handling rejection with grace. Flannery O'Connor would say, most of us come to the church by a means the church does not allow. That's beautiful. It's beautiful. There's always, most times, a time between our prayers and God's eventual voice. How do we handle that in between? Even for Jesus, we'll learn next week. He prayed on Thursday. He started praying on Thursday, Holy Thursday. He never heard anything from God until Sunday morning. How did he handle that in between? Most of the time, God does not answer immediately. He trains almost our wills, our spiritual muscles. Go out and seek help when needed. We must live on the roof if we want to see the sky. Number 11, our task is to break barriers to help others. What makes the gospel offensive is not who it keeps out or who it lets in. You know? And the other thing is that the greatest lie people tell each other is, I'm okay, I'm fine. This woman is not going to tell Jesus, I'm fine. She's like, my daughter is dead. Okay? It seems that those most likely to miss God's work in this world are those who are convinced that they know exactly what to look for. The ones who expect God to play by the rules. God rarely plays by the rule. That's why I'm a priest. I also don't play by the rules. Not all rules anyway. Grace is not so poor that it cannot present itself in a number of ways. Marilyn Robinson. Now, why not let us go through the our questions? We have 3. Yeah. 1 and 2. 3 and 4. Then 5. I'm so sorry. There is no. You know what? I'm just going to print some so that everybody can have some.
What do we get?
It's on the other side.
Oh.
Yes, we need more so that you can have it take home.
So what are we supposed to look at?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if you said it.
3 and 4.
What are we?
3 and
3 and 4?
Okay, so that's 4.
Initial,
I'm gonna move over so you have some space.
Is that the woman he was just talking about?
Yeah.
How do you say that?
Syrophoenician. Yeah.
Was his initial response to ignoring?
Yeah. I think.
Yeah.
You know, I sometimes think she's kind of tired. Like,
What'd you say?
Tired.
You're tired, yeah.
like he was surrounded by paparazzi and people clamoring at him. And sometimes it's like,
Yeah.
now, why that story was put in the Bible, I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like when the Bible was written, they had to pick and choose what to put in, and this is a very unusual
An unusual
story.
one.
And so how it found its way in, I don't know.
Maybe somebody really fought for it.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
Or maybe it shows humanity, like
His humanity.
his,
Yeah.
like even when you're that powerful and that, or just, I don't know, like you said, like he's around people asking for stuff all the time. Women, and most of the time, it's okay, but sometimes it wasn't.
I've often seen in the Bible
about helping parents.
when Jesus is asked to heal people, he sometimes is initially kind of,
Reticent or?
reluctant.
Yeah, it's like, oh, okay, all right.
Gotta do it again.
Maybe it was also a way of testing her faith, like, by like, hey, you're not supposed to be talking to me, and just to see what she would do, perhaps, and to see how persistent, and then, when he saw the strength of her faith, and, went ahead.
Yeah.
Right, like when she gave up real fast.
Which, like if he just ignored her and she turned around like, all right, and walked away, then, then maybe that wouldn't have been the opportunity for that, miracle to
I guess from what he said, that this woman came from an area where they're not liked very much because they're like
right.
upper class or whatever, they're kind of
okay, they were upper class.
or of the ruling class, or what do you want to call it?
Yeah. But then but the term used for her was like an ethnic slur.
Yeah, basically,
To the rich.
Yeah.
Okay. For rich people. Okay.
well, I mean, there's, when I was in high school, there was a term called, cake eaters.
What was it again?
Cake eaters.
Cake.
It's a slur for upper class.
Oh, I never heard of it.
Yeah, cake eaters. You're with the cake eaters.
as we would have said cake.
Feel the notice
It's strangely sort of very historic, obscure reference, but I remember that being, you know, it was a slur, it was a way of like, yeah, you're not real, you don't really, can't really hang in there.
I took a peek at a commentary on it, and if I remember right, there was an idea that Jesus was maybe kind of getting his feet wet a little bit, and you know, because he later says, I was sent only to the lost sheep of house of Israel, so like, that's kind of like my job, but we wouldn't think he'd say that. But maybe, as he said at the beginning, he's kind of finding his way. I know he's the Son of God, but he's also human.
Right.
And trying to figure out, like, so when is this ministry going to be? And is it going to be more, like, tired?
Did he not think that she was really, you know, it's like, you know, like children, you have to, you know, children keep asking, so it's like we should always be like children, keep asking, can I have a cookie? No. Can I have a cookie? No. Can I have a cookie? No. Can I have a cookie? Yes, take the cookie.
I think it's still recording. Yes. Oh, okay.
So I'm wondering if that's what was going on, because he does address in 23, when the disciples say send her away, he doesn't say, yeah, sure, let her go. He does at that point. He doesn't address her, as Paul said. He addresses the rest of them and says, I was sent only to the lost sheep. So he's like,
Of Israel.
Of Israel. Oh, okay, of Israel. Of Israel.
Specifically of Israel.
Oh.
So I think that's what B's saying.
Okay.
Is that he's like, wait, I'm only supposed to do, you know, sort of this idea that God's
There's only
idea
certain
of
people that
always
can help.
bigger.
Okay.
Yeah, he thinks it is. So he's like, wait,
He's got some silos.
he's like, I'm not supposed to help everybody. I'm just here for the people of Israel.
You know, there's a reference to Jeremiah, and Jeremiah was being told about the future prosperity of God's people. And Jesus knew that he was going to be the new covenant, for God's sake. The new covenant that I will make with the people of Israel. Got that one. Will be, I will put my law within them and write it in their hearts. I will be their God and they will be my people. None of them will have to teach another to know the Lord, because all will know me, from the least to the greatest, and I will forgive their sins, and I will no longer remember their wrongs. I, the Lord, have spoken. And that prophecy that Jeremiah spoke was of Jesus, and he knew his mission, and he knew that mission was to be to his people, and the Gentiles weren't necessarily ready to receive, because that's where Paul would come in down the road, and even Peter would recognize that, yeah, you have to take this message that you first got. You take the one I taught you, and you take it over there.
Take it over, okay.
So I think that's what Jesus had to kind of struggle.
Right.
It's not that he didn't want to do it,
Yeah,
I think,
but it wasn't the right time.
okay.
let's, can I have a copy of the basic lessons?
What are ways of handling rejection?
I did the error of just putting out pen.
I think that happens a lot.
All right. It's so painful that we have only one more session. But I was telling Alexis this evening that we'll do it again. We'll do something like this again. I have that hope in God, even though there seems to be no hope, but I have that hope. Now, number one, how can the church be of help to parents raising children? Yes, Nancy, that's your table.
Well, we said that instead of, we didn't want to say church, we want to say the community.
Good.
Of
Yeah.
Savior.
You're my disciples. Thank you.
We supported each other when we had children. There was, well, I think all of our kids went to NCA.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked to each other about, mothers talk to each other about children.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And Bernie said, so do dads. So to have a community like this when you're raising children is yeah, There's nothing like it.
And it's from my own experience too. When I was growing up in Nigeria, like I was sharing this morning, that I'm afraid of the other mothers in the church than my own mother, because if they come to tell my mom that they caught me doing something wrong, which is always as often as possible, it's like my mom's clean record has been stained.
Oh, wow.
Her instruction is, what you do in my absence is more important than what you do in my presence. You know? So, and it's because we have this church community, we stay together, we just, Nigeria was still very much safe then. You come to church on a Sunday morning, like maybe it's 9, 10. Many of us don't leave the church until like 4 p.m. Together, we sit together, play soccer together, play games together. My younger sister was a member of the Legion of Mary, and she has like several presidiums. Presidia, that's the plural. But one thing that I would say that I would seek that it is revived in our church communities, two things. This is one of the major problems I have seen in the church in the United States. We never design our programs to cater for parents raising families. Many of the church programs are designed in such a way and put at times the parents can never attend. I think we are shooting ourselves in the foot that way. It takes just a simple pastoral thinking to say, what time do parents able to attend this? You know, the reason that I do the Bible study in the morning and in the evening is not because there are not soccer games in the evening. You know, it's because I know there are some people who can make it in the morning, and there are some who will never be able to make it in the morning because they work. So we have to design events, and it cuts across so many things. Our stations of the cross, when do we have them?
3. Okay.
Oh, did I say that? Okay, yeah. There are things I really don't want to say, you know?
Okay.
But that's the truth. We need to be able to have programs in which, not just like we take care of like those raising, even children like themselves. We should not repeat what is happening in the academia, for instance. One of the reasons why the academia is very difficult for women is because many of the Senate meetings or meetings, they are held in the evening, 4 p.m., 5 p.m., when 6, 7 p.m., when the mother will want to put their children to bed.
Or cook the meal.
Yeah, and by that way, we are secluding a complete gender in rising in the academia. So that's something like we can come together and discuss and say, and like I say all the time, this is not your decision. This is not my decision. It's your decision. If we have more, like I give example the Stations of the Cross. If we discuss and say, okay, this is a time that working families can be able to attend more. Can we have it at this time? Can we have it as, this is part of the conversations we can have as a community. That conversations like that transit us from an institution to a community. You know, this things we just like, it's like that. It's not going to change. It can change if we make some incisive contributions. Write the letter. Can we change this thing to this time or things like that? You know, and the other thing is that it is also very helpful, especially for those who have raised children. If we can have something like, even if it's a Facebook group, to have like people like if they are mothers, young mothers, who need babysitters, you know, like those who come from Nigeria, for instance, who are living here and working here, they give birth. You know how much it costs to pay a baby? It's almost like this country is criminalizing having children. Like you have a child and it's like you are still paying your student loan, then you are paying child's loan again. So, but this is where the church community can come to help and say, okay, we have a Facebook in which we have the addresses of families. Mothers who have raised children can say, okay, I'm available this time of the week to help babysit. And the children itself, these children that we say they don't come to church, can bond with somebody who's... How many of our children being raised now know members of our parish who have ever babysat for them before? When that does not happen, how do we want these children to come to church? They won't. Oh, they say they go to games on Sundays, I've seen. But if you tell the children, if you design a program in such a way that it is irresistible, these children and their parents will come. I spent 7 years in Skopje, 9 years altogether. The first 6-7 years, there was no youth group. No single youth group. Tell me how the church is going to grow without youth. Okay, maybe we'll have robots later on, and baptize robots. Yeah. So we need to be intentional in our relationship to families. The church is never going to survive without families. No communities, it's not even the church, no community is going to be. Number 2, in what ways can our actions hinder people from getting close to Jesus? What do we have for that?
Sometimes you hear nothing but negative remarks from other people. And the more you hear, the worse it becomes for you, and you begin to go to their side. Mm-hmm. And I think if you hear all those negative comments, how can you be close to God? How can you be close to Jesus?
Mm-hmm. And I always say sometimes the greatest problems of Christians are Christians. Yeah. The language that we use for others. I mean, Rochelle was giving an instance. This is Rochelle some weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, when she was going to a church nearby. She doesn't want to mention the name of the church, and I don't know the name of the church. I've tried my best to get it. Oh my Jesus is oh God. She'll take her child, her daughter, who was has some autism. Yes, Tricia, right? Yes. And the way that she was almost shunned, or just like even shamed for being able to bring a child to the church. She's like, no, I'm done here. That's the reason she came to St. Gertrude's. You know? So sometimes we are the greatest problems of ourselves. You know? So the way we even coming to church. See, I stopped this thing in St. Peter and St. Lambert. I know people from St. Peter and Lambert can hear me now, but I'll say it anyway. The kiss of peace in the morning. In the morning, there is the kiss of peace. Before COVID, let us give the kiss of peace to each other, right? I noticed that people were not doing it. It's not that they are, maybe something else is going on in the morning. At 8:15 they do it, at 6:30 mass they don't do it. I just told myself, I'm not going to force them. I just skipped that part. From this thing go, and that's the one part, that's the only part of the mass that the priest can make a decision to add or to remove. If you don't know, don't tell anybody. Don't say it if you can hear it. But the way we do things, the way we even welcome people, you think people don't like Jesus? You think children don't like Jesus? Come to the NCA mass in the morning and see the children go crazy for Jesus. What do you think of Jesus' initial response to this woman that we'll call the Syrophoenician woman? I want to hear what you have to say. Because this is the most important question before we get to heaven.
Oh, wow.
So, this is early Jesus, right? This is sort of early.
Before he moved to the Gentile region, yes.
Right. So I think this was his moment to realize how big his task was. And that up until that point, he was like, no, I'm just here for these people. I'm not going to... and then the other thing is, and I think sometimes this gets forgotten, I would imagine that sometimes he's tired.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
really
Right?
tired.
I mean,
Yeah.
you know, he's got people clamoring at him all the
All the
time.
time.
That is so true, because that's the impression we have in the Gospel of Mark. That he wanted some rest for himself, and he's just trying to sneak out. The Greek word used in the Gospel of Mark is like he's sneaking into that town. In fact, he left that place, he left Judah, Israel, because there was so much. You remember there was a time that his family came, in the Gospel of Mark, his family came to drag him because they said he's mad. the English translation will say he's besides himself, but the Greek says he's crazy.
Thought to be.
Yeah, because he's saying he doesn't eat. That he doesn't have that people were coming to the extent that he doesn't have time for himself to eat. So that is a very good interpretation or way to say maybe this man he's a human being too. He's just tired, and even in his tiredness, he kept talking to the woman. That's the most interesting thing. Like, I don't want to take care of dogs for now. Let me take care of children. Oh my God. There should be a Hollywood in heaven in which you can watch these movies. Thank you for that. What are the good ways of handling rejection? Do you have anything?
Yeah, we never got
Okay.
yeah.
Did you try that? Did you take a crack at that?
No.
Why?
We said number 5.
Why? That is so sad. Okay, let's do 5 before I finish with 4. Yeah, what do you have in 5? Because they are also related anyway. Yeah.
Well, ours was kind of similar. So
Yes.
our thinking was similar to hers. In that, it said that, there was no tape recorders at the time of Jesus' life. So what we have is the recollections of what this relationship meant to the believers, the disciples, and then they chose certain stories, perhaps to instruct us as well, about that Jesus was part of a culture in his humanity. And culture is both graced and disgraced. It has elements of goodness in a culture, but then it's human-made, so it's disgraced too. So in this, we see a sense that the writer is capturing for us how this woman pulls him, it awakens this reality of the culture that is so limited, in judging and calling dogs. And yet, the relationship, and Jesus changes his direction and says, yeah, this is bigger. I can heal this person, even her child, even though she's not legit, or even though she's not, the person's to do. So that there really isn't a no with God.
Yeah.
Really, in some ways, it's about a relationship. That he was open to the possibility of changing his mind, and she, in turn, was touched. Her plea touched him and opened that door from the limitation of the culture to something broader. And then, in turn, Jesus returns with the generosity.
Okay.
Healing.
2 things that I would like to say. One is that do you really think there is no to God? Are you convinced of that?
No.
I just want to push you on that a little bit. That do you think that
No,
God
there
cannot
is a
say
no. There is a no.
God?
Right, there is a no.
Okay.
But in this story, it's sort of like,
It's more than a no. This story is more than a no because he never said no in this story, right? Oh no, he said no. He did not really say no.
yeah.
He pushed her, but he tried as best as possible. He knows that if this woman pushes a lot, he's going to have to say yes. So he tried to delay, then eventually said yes. But my thinking when you mentioned the word that there is no with God is that I still have some prayers that God has not answered. So what is my own going to be? Yes.
Well, Art here kind of put it out this way.
Okay.
You can either double down like this woman did, when there's kind of a no, kind of a no, or maybe we need to step back and think about redirecting why I'm not being answered. Maybe there's something else that, or be patient. Yeah. Maybe like if we trust and have faith, and we gotta know. After you're done being angry, which is common, maybe you can just say, well, what is it then? And maybe you can search deeper or look elsewhere.
That's a powerful way to look at it because what you're saying now is that it is not, the whole Christian journey is not just about Jesus changing his mind sometimes. It also involves us being able to change our own mind sometimes. To be able to see this thing that I am asking for, do I really need it? I was 6, 7 years old when I was asking God and praying God to give me money to buy a gun. Thank God he never answered that prayer. Because there was this gun shop every day when we passed to school, and I was like, let me get a gun. So sometimes a Christian journey is not just about God changing his mind, but also it entails us also being able to change our mind, given the circumstances of things. Maybe God is trying to direct us to one or two other things that we have not been paying attention to, you know? And two other things that I will say before I end the prayer. We are children nowadays. We are raising them less and less to be able to handle rejection.
Amen. That's for sure.
And it is going to destroy their personalities. Because rejection is part of life. Hearing no is part of saying no. Hearing no is part of good parenting. You know, if you give everything, even we don't give everything our pet asks for. Not to talk of our own children. I've seen more and more and the culture is getting couched in such a way that rather than telling somebody outright no, we won't tell them no, but we say things that will make them feel good. And at the end of the day, it encourages gossip in our societies. It encourages the defamation of character in our own society in a lot of ways. So children need to know, sometimes in very clear terms, that rejection is part of existence. We hear that with Jesus and God next week. Sometimes God says no loud and clear. Because God, with God, no is not between no and yes. And it happens, again, in many of our colleges. I taught in lawyer for a couple of years. And one of the things that really doesn't make me happy most of the time is me sitting down. One of the things that I tell my students the first day they get into class is this. If I say your answer is wrong, it's not a comment on your personality. But if the answer is wrong, I am not going to tell here and say, good answer. No, I'm not going to do that. If you can't take that, there are 10 other intro theology 101 in this college. Go and take it. Secondly, I don't allow electronic devices in my class. If there are 10 other professors, none of you can use more technology than me. I am crazy with it. If God is going to send me to hell, it's going to be because of technology. And they gave me another one just today now with this effort. So we have to like this woman, sometimes you ignore the no to be able to get what you want to get. Sometimes you accept the no because you know that there is a greater yes. If we are not able to accept some no's now, we will never, if we don't know the value of no, we will never know the value of yes. Yes, Teresa.
I just wanted to mention that I have a very dear Jewish friend who told me that when you pray for something that you want, but God gives you what you need, not necessarily what you want.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I love this passage in the Bible that says, ask and you shall receive. Knock and the door will be open. Seek and you shall find. You know what I love about that passage? It says ask and you shall receive. It's not telling you you will receive what you ask. It says seek and you will find. It's not telling you what you're going to find. Knock and the door will be open. You don't know whether you're going to knock on Glenwood and the door is going to be open on Grandview. You don't know. Finally, this is an exercise of the brain as we go home this evening. If Jesus sees this woman again, what is their conversation going to be? Like if they encounter each other today, by God's grace, they are seeing each other in heaven. The first time Jesus sees this woman, we were thinking about, is it going to be appreciation? Is it going to be love? Is it going to be, hey, you disgraced me as a dog. Now I'm going to hear you out. Yes, Art.
He's going to say thank you.
Thank you.
Say thank you. You know, you opened up my world.
And we're still talking about it till today, 2,000 years after.
And Linda pointed out earlier in our group that maybe that's one reason that they decided, the other Christians, to put this story in. Because if he can change his mind, then we ought to listen to each other.
And be able to change it.
Yes.
Good. Thank you. Thank you so much. One more class and we'll get to Jesus. Let's.
This phone was left in the Okay.
Is it yours? Oh my goodness, I should have stolen it. Can we say the final prayers? In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Lord, I know that you love me.
And that you have great plans for me. But sometimes I am overwhelmed by the thought of your future. Show me how to walk forward one day at a time. As I explore the various options which lie before me, help me to listen openly to others and to pay attention to what is in the depth of my own heart. In this way, may I hear your call to a way of life which will allow me to love as only I can, and allow me to serve others with the special gifts you have given me. Hear my prayer through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. I want to thank you all, and I want to thank the choir for this air fryer. And there is still, the cake is still available. Eat the cake. Cupcakes, there are cupcakes still. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh my goodness. This is Jesus on the wheel.
So what would you say to someone, to the generation who knows they can't accept rejection? What would you say as an exercise to change?
Their minds or to change their behaviors.
Change their behavior.
I would say I would go ahead and tell a couple of stories of because